I remember the first time I ever cracked the mic. I was 17 years old in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and the program director at the time had given me the name Bobby Bones, because Bobby is my real name. And I remember I went on, and I was so nervous. It was overnight, 2 a.m, and I said, hey, this is, and then I said my real name, not my radio name. It was an epic failure. And for most people, it is an epic failure the very first time they ever get on a microphone whenever the pressure is on. For me, the biggest high point of my radio career, it was really cool to be put in the Radio Hall of Fame. I was the youngest person ever to be put in, and that's quite the flex. So that was awesome. I think anytime that I'm able to do anything based on the success of the radio show, if it's I've had multiple television shows, multiple successful books, but that's all credited back from me to the radio show. So I think any of those big things, like that's all part of my radio career, and those would be my favorite moments. I think one of the most unexpected, awesome guests was when John Mayer came in. He came in and sat for like half an hour, and he was just in town. And there was this season of life where John Mayer and I were kind of friendly. Like when I was in California, I'd go by and see him if he was playing, or he came to an iHeart stage show once that I was hosting, and he popped in here, and he just came in and we talked for like half an hour on the air. Really didn't plan on it because I didn't know he was coming by. And that thing has gone super viral a few times. Another one was like an early Chris Stapleton before he was the artist Chris Stapleton. He was the songwriter Chris Stapleton. And he came up and he performed like a Josh Turner song that he had written. And that was super cool because, that really cemented Chris and I's relationship very early. And that video has also gone viral many times over. Those are probably my favorite. My favorite listener interactions were always when I was doing like live stage shows. I'd be out touring doing stand-up, but it was all the listeners of the radio show that would come. And so I would get to do these meet and greets with listeners and use that as a real life, hey, what did you like? What did you not like? What's funny? What's not funny? And also to be able to tour, to me, that was the greatest window into the lives of our listeners, because I sit at this microphone and we talk to people, or I see people out on the street in my city that I'm in. But for the most part, like touring allowed me to go to places from New York to North Dakota to California. We could do it all and actually see and meet listeners and see even how they're different, regionally. So that was probably the coolest thing. As far as tough on-air moments go, anytime there's a disaster or a tragedy, whenever the shooting happened in Vegas, and that was during a country music festival. I mean, I had played the festival the night before the shooting, and I got on a plane that morning to come back. And so I wasn't there that night, but a lot of my friends were there that night. And so we had people come in and play and talk, and that was super emotional. Also, but on, the awesome part of that too is being able to change lives in really wonderful ways. Like we've built homes for members of the military. And so, it kind of hits the scale. Tragedies are always the toughest, but being able to do things for people are always some of the best. I had a really bad oops moment on the air. It's way back in the day. I was in Austin, Texas. And this is before the delay. And so there wasn't a way to hit a button and remove 20 seconds. And we had a guest coming up to play. It was Sarah McLachlan, and she was going to play piano. So we were making sure the piano sounded good. And I went into the room and played the piano and came back and listened to it recorded to see if it worked. And this is when I used to curse a lot. And I remember going, this sounds effing great into the microphone. And I didn't realize that I'd recorded all that. And when I was playing it back, I played me going, this sounds effing great on the air. The F word on the air. That's a pretty bad oops moment. Probably Hank Williams Jr. If I were going to redo an interview. I didn't know they told Hank he couldn't smoke his cigar in the building, which, by the way, that's fine. I think you probably shouldn't be able to smoke your cigar in the building. But he was on edge. And I didn't know that. And Hank Williams Jr. came in the studio and he's like, can I leave? And I'm like, leave. And so I didn't know why he was so irritable. I thought he was just super famous. And he left. And that clip has gone viral. If I could redo it, I don't know that I'd let him smoke in the building, but at least I would know why he was so irritated with the whole situation before he came in to play his songs. So I'd probably redo that one. I love playing games on the show. I love being competitive. I think people also like to hear people having fun. I think people like to play along. That's why game shows have been so popular for 100 years now. And so we play a lot of games. And on Fridays, we always play the easiest trivia game ever that's called Easy Trivia. And I think our listeners like it because they can play along. Our show likes it because we like to play games. And that's probably the segment that I love doing the most. If I could relive one moment, I think I would enjoy it a little more. Way back in the day, before I started to have any success on television, I got picked to be on when it was Regis and Kelly and go and fill in for Regis. And I found out while I was on the air because Amy had her television on and she was working from her house and started screaming, "Oh my God, you got it." That was a pretty cool moment. I didn't know it was coming. I don't know that I would want to relive it because that moment was so cool. But if I did, I think I would enjoy it differently. That's special. I think one of the great radio traditions is giving back. The hosts, the stations, I think it's a big part of the community in general, whatever that community is. A local community, we work a lot with St. Jude, and we don't even live in the same city as that hospital, but that hospital takes kids from all over the country, all equal. So I think the tradition of giving back, I hope that doesn't end on radio. I would describe radio in 2025 as being just a part of the overall product that we have to produce, meaning we hope you listen to us live. That'd be awesome. If you don't, then hopefully you go and listen to the podcast, which I still consider radio. I think anything coming from your phone is radio. And I think you go listen to the podcast. If you missed anything, or maybe you just only listen on podcast, that's great too. Maybe you go check it out on YouTube. It's so important to be available because also we have to find ways to monetize the show in ways that we are used to only traditionally monetizing. So for me, how would I describe radio? Anything that comes out of your phone in any way. I think my favorite thing about being part of the iHeart family is I've been in this company for over 20 years and I've developed some really rich friendships, and that's been fantastic. But having the support of people who are in similar situations, it's very easy to call Charlamagne the God and be like, "Hey, I'm going through this," and he knows exactly what I'm going through. Being in the company has been fantastic, but also the resources. Like, this is a company that has resources in pretty much every major city. So wherever I go across the country, I'm able to call and be like, "Hey, I'm here." Also having a sales team that knows how to sell the show. I think that's fantastic. As you know, we provide hopefully the best for the people that want to buy our show, and we can produce for them, wonderful results. I think that's probably the best part of being in the company.